Daily Words of God. God's dealing of people's external disposition is also one part of His work. Dealing with people's external, abnormal humanity, for example, or their lifestyle and habits, their ways and customs, as well as their external practices and their fervency. But when He asks that people put the truth into practice and change their dispositions, what is primarily being dealt with are the motivations and conceptions within them. Only dealing with your external disposition isn't hard. It's like asking you not to eat the things you love, which is easy. That which touches upon the conceptions inside you, however, isn't easy to let go of. It requires you to rebel against the flesh and pay a price and suffer before God. This is particularly so with people's motivations. From the time of their belief in God until today, people have harbored many incorrect motivations. When you're not putting the truth into practice, you feel that all your motivations are correct. But when something happens to you, you will see that there are many incorrect motivations within you. Thus, when God makes people perfect, He causes them to realize that there are many conceptions within them that are obstructing their knowledge of God. When you recognize that your motivations are wrong, if you are able to stop practicing according to your conceptions and motivations, and are able to bear testimony to God and stand firm in your position in all that happens to you, this proves that you have rebelled against the flesh. When you rebel against the flesh, there will inevitably be a battle within you. Satan will try and make you follow it, will try and make you follow the conceptions of the flesh and uphold the interests of the flesh. But God's words will enlighten and illuminate you within. And at this time, it is up to you whether you follow God or follow Satan. God asks people to put the truth into practice, primarily to deal with the things inside them, to deal with their thoughts and their conceptions that aren't after God's heart. The Holy Spirit touches people inside and carries out His work within them. And so behind everything that happens is a battle. Every time people put the truth into practice, or put the love of God into practice, there is a great battle. And though all may seem well with their flesh, in the depths of their hearts, a life and death battle will, in fact, be going on. And only after this intense battle, after a tremendous amount of reflection, can victory or defeat be decided. One does not know whether to laugh or cry, because many of the motivations within people are wrong, or else because much of God's work is at odds with their conceptions. When people put the truth into practice, a great battle is waged behind the scenes. Having put this truth into practice, behind the scenes people will have shed countless tears of sadness before finally making up their mind to satisfy God. It is because of this battle that people endure suffering and refinement. This is true suffering. When the battle comes upon you, if you are able to truly stand on the side of God, you will be able to satisfy God. Suffering in the course of practicing the truth is inevitable. If, when they put the truth into practice, everything within them were right, then they would not need to be made perfect by God, and there would be no battle, and they would not suffer. It is because there are many things within people that are not fit for use by God, and much of the rebellious disposition of the flesh, that people need to learn the lesson of rebelling against the flesh more profoundly. This is what God calls the suffering that He asked man to undergo with Him. When you encounter difficulties, hurry up and pray to God. "Oh God, I wish to satisfy you. I wish to endure the final hardship to satisfy your heart. And regardless of how great the setbacks I encounter, still I must satisfy you. Even if I have to give up my whole life, still I must satisfy you." With this resolve, when you pray thus, you will be able to stand firm in your testimony. Each time they put the truth into practice, each time they undergo trials, each time they are tried, and each time God's work comes upon them, people endure extreme pain. All of this is a test for people, and so within all of them there is a battle. This is the actual price that they pay. Reading more of God's words and running about more is somewhat of a price. It is what people ought to do. It is their duty and the responsibility that they should fulfill. But people must put aside that within them which needs to be put aside. If you don't, then no matter how great your external suffering and how much you run around, all will be in vain. Which is to say, only the changes within you can determine whether your external hardship is of value. When your internal disposition has changed and you have put the truth into practice, then all your external suffering will gain God's approval. If there has been no change in your internal disposition, then no matter how much suffering you endure, or how much you run about on the outside, there will be no approval from God, and hardship that is not confirmed by God is in vain. Thus, whether the price you have paid counts is determined by whether or not there has been a change in you, and by whether or not you put the truth into practice and rebel against your own motivations and conceptions to attain the satisfaction of God's will, the knowledge of God, and loyalty to God. No matter how much you run about, if you have never rebelled against your own motivations, only seek external actions and fervency, and never pay any attention to your life, then your hardship will have been in vain. If, in a certain environment, you have something you want to say, but inside you don't feel it's right, that it does not benefit your brothers and sisters, and may hurt them, then you won't say it, preferring to be pained within, for these words are incapable of satisfying God's will. At this time, there will be a battle inside you, but you will be willing to suffer pain and give up that which you love. You will be willing to endure this hardship to satisfy God, and although you will suffer pain inside, you will not pander to the flesh, and God's heart shall have been satisfied, and so you will also be comforted inside. This is truly paying a price, and is the price desired by God. If you practice in this way, God will surely bless you. If you can't achieve this, then no matter how much you understand, or how well you can speak, it will all be for nothing. If, on the road to loving God, you are able to stand on the side of God when He does battle with Satan, and you do not turn back to Satan, then you will have achieved the love of God, and you will have stood firm in your testimony.